Are you here to improve your investment strategies? Are you looking for that one article that could help you finalize that decision you were holding off? Well then, get ready to learn more and gain just that subtle extra knowledge to get an edge in the investment business. Because if you're new here, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Daily Fortune, a channel where we talk about all the latest news, updates, guides, and strategies related to investment. Of course, with that said, we're going to be discussing a lot about the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, The Big Short, Michael Burry, the money tree Cathie Woods, Tesla's very own CEO and eccentric billionaire Elon Musk, along with the rest of the big leagues to learn just a bit more from the professionals. And don't worry, of course we talk about crypto, and we also talk about the best stocks to invest in, along with many tips and tricks on how to handle your finances so you never lose. So before we talk about making money, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell as well to make sure you won't miss a single video. Now let's get started. Inflation is something everyone has been talking about. Is it a problem that we should all worry about or not? Well, many investors have been bothered and worry about this. Names like Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Michael Burry, Charlie Munger, and other investors have warned everyone about the approaching inflation. Charlie Munger claimed that if the printing of money will continue, you will end up like what happened to Venezuela, wrecked by inflation. Burry also said that history is not useless at all. He shared the 1970 inflation in America and believed that it was much more relevant than one might think. Then Dalio also claimed that the inflation pressures are rebounding. See, those high names in the world of investing have a lot to say about inflation, and they only have one thing to say on their minds. There are some data that shows inflation is coming and will definitely become a concern for everyone. But here's the good news. Even if there is inflation, we can still profit from it. How? Stay tuned as we discuss the steps on how you could still gain more during inflationary periods. Before we go on to the steps on how you could profit, I will first discuss the warning signs that we have all seen during this inflationary period. These all fall back to the main culprit, which is the money printing. Since the pandemic, there were lockdown restrictions, and many people lost their jobs and were in need of money. The solution made by the government was to distribute free money to help millions of people. They lent trillions of dollars to businesses that were trapped on loans, facing financial problems, or simply needed cash. They also spent hundreds of billions of dollars on unemployment aid for jobless people. Billions of dollars have been poured into medical institutions and research centers. And now we're all experiencing the consequences of printing a bunch of money. The money were printed by the Federal Reserve, and that sprouted many problems. One of the most serious consequences of printing trillions of dollars is inflation. So when individuals are given free money, their demands for goods increases. Because of course they have more money to spend, but how will prices change as demand increases? Naturally, prices will rise as well. Going back to what Charlie Munger said, the printing of money will keep going like this. You'll end up like Venezuela, which suffered because of hyperinflation. But there's also one factor that drives inflation. It's the world's aging population. In 1970, there are significantly more young people than retirees. In the United States, there were twice as many young people as retirees before. In both categories, the situation is currently the same. A similar situation existed in the United Kingdom in the 1970s, with more young people than retirees. The ratio has now switched, with retirees outnumbering young people. If you look at the developed economies one by one, you will notice that they all tell the same tale. All of these strong economies are seeing a decline in the number of people of working age. It is deteriorating rather than improving. In developed countries, the situation is also the same throughout Eastern Europe. Africa is the only exception, as it is one of the world's poorest continents. This is crucial since you will have fewer supplies if you have a less than capable body. You'll be able to generate fewer things as a result. So then, labor costs will rise. Labor hiring companies are now passing these costs onto their customers, with the definition of inflation, which is the increase in the price of goods and services. Basically, the effect of having fewer people of working age or having more retirees will have a negative impact on the economy. So those are some factors that may contribute to future high inflation. The important question, though, is how can we profit from inflation? Now let's talk about how to gain money even if there is inflation and how to keep from losing money. We should all all learn how to do it because we are all experiencing inflation now, and we're not sure if this will continue to get worse. Inflation last occurred in the 1980s, and most people have no idea how to invest during that period. We aren't used to seeing currencies devalue, bonds and some stocks fall down, and other asset expenses eroded by inflation. Here's the number one option, and one of the better options to think about. It's about buying real estate. But to buy real estate, there could be millions of debt in order to own one. Remember that cash is the worst asset to own in an inflationary environment, since your dollars will decline in value. And what's the opposite of cash? It's all about the debt. Instead of eating away at your cash, inflation eats away at your debts. This is one of the benefits of investing in real estate. However, take note that inflation raises the value of your home. Inflation makes everything more expensive, including housing. That's another perk of owning real estate. Your rental income, on the other hand, also keeps up with inflation, which is another positive benefit. So investing in real estate will eat away your debt, making it less of a burden, but it will also increase the value of your home and your rental payment. So you can profit in a variety of ways with this investment, and if you know what you're doing, you can potentially make a lot of money. You can either acquire real estate directly, or if you don't have the cash, invest in an REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, which will invest in real estate on your behalf at a lower cost. The second asset that can be profitable during inflation is gold. Investors perceive cash's value to collapse during inflationary periods, and no one wants to hold cash. So investors strive to envision an asset class that holds its value. It's limited in quantity and cannot be depreciated. So yeah, gold is one of the options. When investors notice inflation, they flock to gold, which appreciates in value. You'll discover something similar if you look back in time. There was a period of substantial inflation from 1970 until 1980. It was exceptionally high before, with the rates ranging from 5% to nearly 15%. Gold soars like a rocket at those times. That's $250 to $2,000. So in conclusion, gold is an excellent asset to have in times of rising inflation, but you should get it while it's still cheap. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are another thing that investors are likely to encounter when inflation rises. There are many people who oppose it, saying that there is no history to back it up, because Bitcoin has only been around for about 10 years. Here's the logic behind it. The value of your dollar is declining due to inflation, as I've mentioned before. You can't degrade Bitcoin because there are only a limited number of them in circulation. Only 21 million of them are available. People are fleeing to other currencies as a result of the dollar's depreciation and its withering down, and one of them is Bitcoin. There's no certainty and there's no data to back this up, but I believe Bitcoin will skyrocket if hyperinflation occurs. So these are the assets that you can start investing in even during inflationary times. These are assets that will perform well if inflation continues to rise. Another thing to think about is the stocks that are performing well in this market. We'll use Warren Buffett's entire law on stocks and inflation in the past to demonstrate this. When there's a lot of inflation, you should focus on equities with 3 key criteria. First, having the ability to make money rather than spend it. The second is a business that can easily raise prices to keep pace with the inflation. The third is to buy businesses that can handle increased dollar volume growth with only minimal additional capital investment. Stocks like Coca-Cola, Buffett's long-term investment, should feel the best during inflationary times. They have the ability to raise prices in response to rising inflation. Companies like Sanderson Farms, which can easily raise chicken prices during inflation while still earning a lot of cash flow. These are examples of companies that can generate a lot of cash flow. So if there will be a lot more inflation in the future, you'll want to put more money into these types of companies. Don't get me wrong, when inflation is high, your money can become incredibly worrisome. But inflation does not have to take your money away. The truth is, by investing wisely in the right stocks, gold, real estate, and Bitcoin, you can profit while the majority loses. And that concludes today's video. Thank you for watching. So that's it for today. I hope you learned something from today's video, and to get updated with the next videos, don't forget to hit the notification bell. See you next time.